Hi sheeple, I am Schmancy Peloski and a swamp creature, and I think I am so wonderful. I threw the American people crumbs in the amount of $600, but hell, if we get the Dominion voting systems out and run the checks through there, you all would get $2,400. The 5,593-page bill ended 8+ months of partisan gridlock. As most of you know, we haven't and don't do much in Congress. That is why our approval rate is 15%. Who are the morons that think we are doing a good job? Must be the socialists? Maybe? We need to give all these places, I call them our own personal slush funds, money, moolah. You know sheeple, we do this so that we can launder money. Oh, didn't you know that? That's what we do best in Washington. We enrich ourselves and say screw the American people. I mean, honestly, what the heck is the Kennedy Center needing $26 million? They just got a shit ton in the spring. They received $25 million just 6 months ago, and we are going to send them another $26 million. Well, the reason, to be honest, is I have to buy my ice cream and we all get kickbacks. Not that hard to figure out, and they are closed. We laugh in the face of the peasants. Those peasants are you. Then, we sent the Smithsonian $1 billion. No, they don't need $1 billion, they are closed, but us politicians need to enrich ourselves. It is really a nice slush fund for us. So the taxpayers pay $1 billion every year to see stuff we have lied to you about. It is really a great setup for us. So while you folks are out there worrying about how you are going to pay for your mortgage or rent or any of your bills, we will continue to steal from you. Like, look, we have $154 million going to the National Art Gallery and $167 million to the National Art and Humanities, and then of course we have to have $14 million going to the W. Wilson Center. It's great to just have all this money for everyone else and throw crumbs to the American sheeple. So out of $900 billion, the American people are getting 1/9 because you are the peasants and we hate you and we really do not care what you think. We can rig an election, so do you really think we care when you say we will not vote for you anymore? I am sure Cocaine Mitch cut a deal so that Amy McGrath didn't get elected. I am sure he said he would do anything to stay in his position. After all, there are pictures of Elaine Zhao, his wife, with the CCP. We put in $45 billion in transportation aid that includes $15 billion to help airlines maintain their payrolls, and you sheeple are so silly. You allow them to bully you and your children into wearing masks. You allow them to make you do whatever they say, and you are paying for that. $14 billion for mass transit, $10 billion for state highways, $2 billion for airports, and $1 billion for Amtrak. And here we go, you silly sheeple, billions for vaccines, testing and tracing. The package includes $20 billion for the purchase of vaccines, nearly $9 billion for vaccine distribution, and about $22 billion to help states with testing, tracing, and COVID-19 mitigation programs. The legislation also includes $5 million for testing in the Capitol building. The National Strategic Stockpile would receive more than $3 billion. We are going to hunt you all down and make you comply. So you may not want a vaccine, but you are going to become the hunted. Funding for funeral expenses, about $2 billion will be set aside for FEMA to distribute to states in order to help families with coronavirus-related funeral expenses through the end of this month, waiving a 25% state match requirement. Honestly, since we are making every diagnosis when someone dies coronavirus, this should be easy to spend, but I will bet that we can find a workaround so this money goes back into the politicians' pockets. Infusion for schools and child care. Ha, what a joke. Have you sheeple ever gotten help with schools? Another wonderful slush fund for us. Included in the $82 billion total for colleges and universities is more than $4 billion for a governor's relief fund, more than $54 billion for public K-12 schools, and nearly $23 billion for a higher education fund. Separately, the child care sector will receive about $10 billion in emergency cash. Did you catch that $4 billion for a governor's relief fund? We are going to stash cash in some of the governor's pockets and not a thing you can do about it. Suck it. Higher education compromise. The legislation includes a bipartisan agreement to forgive nearly $1.3 billion in federal loans to historically black colleges and universities, deliver Pell Grants to incarcerated students after a 26-year ban, and simplify financial aid forms. The last of those three has been a long-time priority for the retiring Alexander. The deal would also repeal a 1998 law that prohibits students convicted of drug offenses from receiving federal financial aid. So the black community will benefit, but you can go suck an egg if you are not black. That is not discriminatory at all, is it? Here's a great one. Wonder if you will buy this one: major anti-busing action. Lawmakers eliminated a last remaining vestige of the incendiary anti-busing fights of the 1970s, including language that nixes a prohibition on the use of federal funds for transportation costs to carry out school desegregation efforts. Honestly, really? It took us over 50 years to eliminate this? I laugh at how stupid this one is, restricting access to e-cigarettes. Incoming House Appropriations Chair Rosa DeLauro, Democrat, Connecticut, secured a win with the inclusion of legislation that requires in-person age verification when online purchases of e-cigarette and vaping products are delivered. Did you get the name? Chair Rosa DeLauro, Democrat of Connecticut. Let's talk about foreign aid. This is where we can make some real money as politicians. We don't care and we don't audit. All we as swamp creatures care about is our kickbacks. Israel will receive $3.3 billion in grants. Egypt will get $1.3 billion from the Foreign Military Financing Program, which Orange Man bad, President Trump said will be used to buy weapons. We don't care and we don't audit. All we as swamp creatures care about is our kickbacks. Burma, also known as Myanmar, will receive $135 million in aid for programs to promote ethnic and religious tolerance and to combat gender-based violence, in addition to mitigating ethnic cleansing against Rohingya Muslims. I am sure you are all thinking how stupid this is, but we have to teach political correctness. How else will we be able to get our kickbacks? Colombia will receive $461 million in aid, which is contingent on the country continuing to implement a national counter-narcotic strategy, protecting Afro-Colombian and indigenous communities and preventing attacks against journalists, trade unionists and human rights defenders. Colombia also must take steps to hold government and military officials accountable for any crimes or human rights violations. Are you buying any of this bullshit? Sudan, $700 million. Corrupt Ukraine, $453 billion. Nepal, $130 billion. Cambodia, $85.5 billion. Pakistan, $25 billion. Asia, China, $1.4 billion. Oh, and 10% for the big guy. Makes you wonder why they need all this money, doesn't it? Let me put something in your face what our net worths in the swamp are, and maybe you will see clearer. Remember, we make $175,000 a year as a congressman. How did we all make this much money? How did all of us make all this money? Slush funds, baby. Representative Michael McCall of Texas, estimated net worth, $113.0 million. Senator Richard Blumenthal of Connecticut, estimated net worth, $70.0 million. Senator Dianne Feinstein of California, estimated net worth, $58.5 million. Representative Nancy Pelosi of California, estimated net worth, $16.0 million. Representative Greg Gianforte of Montana, estimated net worth, $135.7 million. This is just a list of a few of us. This is all about the Benjamins, baby, to quote a swamp creature, marry your bromar. After adding up all of the programs that could be considered foreign aid under the Consolidated Appropriations Act of 2021, tens of billions of dollars were approved. Senator Lindsey Graham, Republican of South Carolina, defended at least some of the foreign aid during an interview Tuesday on Fox and Friends. And we love him when he fist bumps the enemy swamp creature Ho Harris and then will flip-flop when we need him. The foreign aid budget is 1% of all American spending, he said. Pakistan is a place I really worry about. 85 countries. A woman can't open up a bank account without her husband's signature. She can't inherit property. If you're a young girl in Pakistan, life is pretty tough, so we're trying to make life better for women throughout the world. But he's so silly. The money is for gender programs and you ask, why would we do that when they throw people off buildings for being gay? Slush funds, baby. Slush funds for us politicians? Follow the money, honey. We have gotten away with it for so long, we will just keep doing it. Anyway, I could go on and on, but I don't want to bore you. So Schmancy Peloski signing off. Did you really think we are good people? We are nothing more than swamp creatures. Bye bye, sheeple. Wear your mask and obey.